Guys, it has been, man, almost a month since we put out the last build video, and it's not like we've been slacking. We've had a lot of stuff going on with the F12. We have the headers, the X-pipe, the turbos, they're all mounted. Everything is really, really close to being done, and we've got a ton of footage from that we're gonna show you guys right now. We're working on the header. So like we've said before, this is a huge component needed on this car to get that V12 sound. No more log style manifold. We're doing the equal length with the 6-in-1 collectors on each side, crossing over into an X, coming back up into those massive twin turbos. But first, we need to take our plastic mock-up tubes and turn them into metal. We've got one completed, just one of the 12. We have to do all these separate pie cuts, and they're all clocked in different directions to get the tube to fit the way we want it to. Quite a bit of work involved in each one of these tubes. But when we get these things all together and the car is running, it is going to look absolutely insane. I mean, just stainless headers on both sides that are gonna kind of turn that goldish, bluish, purplish color. I will show you the jig that we made. Drew this up, cut it out on the plasma table. So this is 2-inch radius, and this is a 3-inch, and this is a 4-inch. So those are the tubes that we're using, and I'll grab a tube. So here's a 3-inch, here's a 4-inch. Now we can just take these and come in here, put that on there, and mark the tube and cut it in the bandsaw. This is the correct angle. This actually matches one of these pieces of tubing. Same exact angle on it. Every single one of these is a different angle. It's a 1-inch through the center here, so they have to be different angles for a 3-inch radius, a 2-inch radius, a 4-inch radius, all that. So these helped out a ton because we were cutting it with the jig that came with it, and it was just so sloppy that you couldn't get a precise cut. As you can see, we've got a bunch of these single piece, so 1-inch tubes over there that are all gonna go together. This is a 3-inch radius, this is a 3-inch radius, this is a 4-inch radius with a piece of straight connector. These are all 3-inch radius. So basically we're going through here and we're looking at these tubes. So 3-inch, 3-inch, 3-inch. This one right here is a 4-inch, that's a straight. So this piece goes there. And then all of these pieces that don't line up are all separate. So each one of those we have to come through with a tape measure, wrap it around the tube, look and see. So this is 14 millimeters of clocking in between these two tubes. So then we go and mark all that, tape them together. Then once everything's fit and taped, put that in the car, make sure it works properly. If it does, then we come back to the table, we tack everything in place, put it back in the car, make sure it fits. It's a long process. We've been working on this for 2 days now. A lot of it was actually just figuring out how to cut the tubes properly and kind of get this process going. So now that we have that done, we should be able to knock 3 tubes out a day, which seems pretty slow, and it is pretty slow. But if we were doing this, like I said, without these, it would take forever. It's still tedious though. So something else we had to do was figure out how to mark the center line of the tube to match the plastic ones. So the plastic ones have those lines that show the exact center of the tube, and we needed to mark those on our stainless tubes. The best way to do that, piece of aluminum here, clamped to the table so it's at 90 degrees. So you can see as the tube is rotated, there's a gap in there. And then as I rotate this tube, it starts to close up, and then it gets to a point where it's flush, and then you rock it the other way and it starts to pull away. So finding that flat spot there, and then coming in with the machinist square, putting a square against here, scribing a line through there, and then marking it with a Sharpie seemed to be kind of the trick, the quickest and easiest way to do this. So it's after it's cut, so that way we know our angles are exactly in the right spot. Could mark the tube before, but then if the angle gets shifted at all or twisted at all, it might throw off the center line. At the same time, we want to cut each tube and then sand it down, clean the inside, Scotch-Brite it, and if we do that, we kind of take our line off. So this worked out the best. All right, so we still haven't figured out exactly what's going on, but on the first tube we made, we had to add a 16 millimeter piece of straight tubing, and on this one, we put in a 17 millimeter piece of straight tubing, and it might be a millimeter too long. So whatever it is like evenly off by about 16 millimeters. So the good news is that if it works out that way and we can do all the tubes and they all have to be that much longer, they'll all still be equal length. They'll all work properly. The good news is also that if they're off by 10 or 15 millimeters, it doesn't really matter. Like I said before, this is not a normally aspirated car where having all the runners coming into the collector in the right firing order, being all equal length is going to really matter. On the turbo cars, there's gonna be a lot of back pressure anyway, so I don't think that's gonna make a difference. This is exactly how these tubes fit from plastic, and we just had to add this in. Why? Not sure, but it's working now.
If they're all 16 mil, that's gonna bug me so much.
It's like
not
how?
figuring out what.
Yeah, I'll be interested. Like on the ones with the tighter radius bends, if we're still gonna have to do that on those too. All right, another one. Let's see if this one fits. Looking good. Looking like something now.
All right, dude.
Oh man, it's almost there.
3 to 9 more to go.
50% of one side is a pretty passing grade.
Or that's 25% of the whole grade.
You're looking at it as the cup is a quarter full instead of a quarter empty.
All right, Tim, you got the rest, right?
Switch me. Figure out what a compressor binary safety switch is and install that, and then I'll switch you.
That's the little switch that's inside of one of the lines and has like 2 wires coming out of it. Maybe just 1 wire.
And then you mounted after you cut the lines.
I didn't.
Is that the one?
I didn't mount that.
No, it's factory. So, factory switch.
Classic Tim, dog.
Got the electric power steering pump. This power steering pump is a Porsche Motorsport. So it comes in cup cars and GT3Rs, RSRs, all that stuff. Really good power steering unit that we've used before in drift cars. We made this really sick bracket for it. So this is going to hold the power steering pump. No vibration, should be good. And it's gonna go into the chassis down here. So Tim's just finishing up right now, putting in these nutsers to fasten it, but that's gonna bolt in right there. We've got the hoses coming out this way, so these will tuck in and run over there, right to the power steering rack. Just a perfect little spot for it to sit. It'll be out of the way of everything, but still accessible. So when we need to fill the fluid, it's right there. One more piece to the giant puzzle that is the F12.
You know, you gotta treat the parts with respect and care.
That's right, that's a Porsche part right there.
It's a Porsche part. You need some Honda parts in here. Mike's favorite, besides the rotaries, is Hondas. Dang, look at that.
Stabilized.
All right, before that, can we just appreciate how strong that is? Let's pick the car up by that thing. Dude.
By the bracket.
Oh yeah.
Boom, bam.
We kind of sort of have 6 tubes in there. One of them is about 16 pie slices that are not tacked in place yet. It's all taped together with a little bit of wiggle in each one of those. We actually brought the welder over to the car now and we're tacking the tubes together while it's all in place because we were marking them, taking them over to the table, lining them up, tacking them, but they shift just ever so little. Like if it's off a little bit. Oh good, Dave's here, he can take over. All right. See you later, Dave.
There's only 1 tube left.
Good luck. So what we're gonna do is just this on the other side and then weld them up.
No, it's amazing. It's actually cool. Really cool. You guys impressed right now at home? It's a long process. Probably, how many hours per side if you had to throw a number out there for the audience wondering?
So Sean and I have been working on this for 1 week now, both of us. So we got about 80.
Just on a lot.
We do. So not 80 hours, probably
By the way,
75 hours.
Off camera, Sean has a huge personality. Cameras on, he's quiet. Off camera, he's a piece of shit. A lot of fun. So we're hoping that the more the cameras around, the more comfortable we get and start talking some shit. So we'll get there. All 6 tubes in there right now.
Yeah. We're getting somewhere. Got a power steering pump in.
Yeah, that's really cool.
We got one side of the headers mocked up.
Somewhat.
John's got a lot of welding to do.
It's gonna be like a week's worth of just welding.
For one side.
No, probably for both.
All right, if you work the weekend. They say Christmas Day is the most productive day of the year if you want to get something done. Christmas Day.
No traffic.
Worked like Christmas and my birthday for the past
Do you have family?
5 years.
Like kids or anything? Wife? Let's go.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I gotta go. Family.
I do like money, dog.
We're paying this guy?
Gee, I hope so.
With free merch.
There's one free sweatshirt.
Think back to if you're OG watching right now when Damon and I were in Victoria making vlogs, and the vlog was literally Damon getting a haircut and getting groceries in a Huracan to this.
Yeah.
And imagine what next year and the year after that as we bring more people on. Like, we have a full team here. I don't even know what the guy does. He's just here. Oh, there you go.
Nice. She's spinning his nuts. All right, the time has come. We have finally finished making one side minus the welding. So Sean's got it all dialed in here. He did some test runs, changed the settings on the welder and kind of figured out the flow, how much rod to add, how much heat to use, set the pulse up. And also you can see in here how clean that is on the inside. So he had some pieces that tested and cut open. So this is the inside of the weld and it looks the same as the outside of the weld. And the reason that that is is possible is because of this purging system. So basically we have another bottle of argon, which is the shielding gas. The air is dirty. There's just so much contaminants in it that if you just try to weld with air, it will turn out terrible. It'll look terrible, but it'll also be really weak.
Ah, so bright, Jesus.
I know, welding's pretty bright. Now that he's got the settings right to get that nice and clean on the inside of the tube, he's got a lot of welding to do, and obviously we want it to look really good. I'm a decent welder. Sean's a better welder than I am. He's gonna handle all the welding.
Dude, this thing's welding pretty sick.
Looking pretty good. This side's almost done. And we've got the other side all mocked up. So we basically took all of the mock-up tubes that were on this side and just transferred them over, twisted them all together, you know, try to get them to match visually. And we use the same amount of pieces, so they're the exact same length as they are on this side. So we get the equal length tubing on both sides. We've also got the turbos repositioned, so we're able to move them back a little bit more from the first spot where we did a mock-up. It's gonna be really tight. So I ordered some more of this plastic Lego click together tubing, but in the 2.5 inch size, so I can figure out exactly how we're going to make all of this crossover tube work. Because I mean, there's a bit of room up here, but in this area, out of the collector, past the head, past the valve cover, past the alternator, coming over here into an X kind of thing. I'm thinking like two tubes coming together like this, and then back down and around and wrapped up, and then going into the turbo. So it's going to be not as difficult as doing the headers, but it is going to take some time. I was looking at it with just the tubes and trying to figure it out with a stainless tube. It just wasn't really working. As much as we want this car to work perfectly, we want it to look amazing as well. So we've got to make sure we've got enough clearance. We're not going to overheat the valve cover seals, as well as the steering rack. We don't want the exhaust like right on the steering rack, so we might have to build some shields to go over there, put the pulleys in, watch the alternator belt. There's just so many things that are going to be going on in the front of this car. And then after that, intercooler piping, blow-off valves, like how we're going to route all that stuff, oil cooler, fans for all this stuff. This whole area is going to get filled up pretty quick. Hopefully we'll have all that stuff in the next couple days, and we can start knocking out even more of the fab on the front of the car. And then after that, we've got to design the intake manifold. I'm thinking that we're going to have a manifold that's going to come up and kind of cross over. One big plenum on top. I was thinking single throttle body, but the more I thought about it, we need somewhere around 100 millimeter throttle body, I think, to make the power that we want. But the problem with that is the bigger throttle body you get, the stronger the motor has to be under boost. If you've got a big throttle body, 102, 108, 100 millimeter, whatever it is, you might be limited to the amount of boost that you can make because it cannot control, the throttle body can't control the blade inside of there. So much air rushing past it, the motors aren't strong enough for it to actually want to close. And then when it does close, it kind of overpowers and slams the throttle body shut, so you can have some issues. So I think what we'll end up doing is going with dual throttle bodies in a smaller size, maybe in a 70 to 80 millimeter-ish. So we'll run both of those here. Tubes will come out here. They'll go into the intercooler. These tubes will come down and go to the bottom of the intercooler, and we're gonna do, I think, a vertical flow intercooler rather than a horizontal flow. And I think that's just gonna work better for packaging and the way everything is set up in this car. Every single little thing, there's so many details to it, trying to figure out how all of this is going to work together the best possible way.
All right, we got the final pipe welded up. Let's pop this thing in, see how it fits. Are you nervous?
Nah. He's nervous. That's what he always says.
A little bit. All right, Tim, you got the next side, right?
Yeah, it's already done.
See?
You know, you just gotta chop some tubes, glue them together.
Right, Mike? Yep. I'm getting ready to chop some tubes right now. We have them all marked out so we can start on the other side.
This is why Mike gets paid the big bucks. I've been over here getting carpal tunnel, polishing these things by hand, and he just pops in with one of these.
Yep.
Nice.
Tools.
We could have used this before we finished one side.
Sorry, I just thought of it right now. I'm like, man, we didn't Scotch-Brite this tube before I cut it. I'm like, man, he's got to sit here. Yeah. Polish each one of these. We're back at it again. Now we're doing the other side. So we've got all these pieces cut up, put them all together. So I've got these marked out. This piece here is a start here, end here. So it's 3. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single cuts. Another 3, just marking it out, chopping it up. That's how it goes. All right.
Hey guys.
Hey, we have a visitor all the way from Manila. She is the owner of the 550 that has been sitting here for a very long time.
I know, it's been a minute. How are you
It
doing?
has been
How are you
a while.
doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm happy to be back and happy to see the car.
It's almost done. Almost done.
Like it's I think the end of the year already.
I know, it'll be a nice Christmas present. It'll come after Christmas, but
A New Year present,
Exactly.
2024 present. But yeah, I'm excited to have a rip with it and see the boys out in the Philippines.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been asking me already when are DTE coming to Manila, and I hope you guys can join actually. So,
yeah, I know we're talking about it, and we're working on a schedule for 2024, so it's a little more planned out rather than just the chaotic last minute. Let's go to this event.
Well, I know you can decide since you're the boss now here.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So, you call the shots.
I call the shots. Yeah.
Tell them we're going to Manila.
Yep. Get on the plane, boys. You're
Exactly.
flying in the back. I'm flying first class.
Excited to see what you guys have done.
You want to
I
take a look at that one?
I really love I learned so much from the videos, and I keep like replaying certain sections and like, oh wow, okay. So I've been using those blocks too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're so useful.
They are.
But I can see the twin turbos already sitting in.
Come on, let's go check it out. And it's been a huge project, but it is really coming along now, and I'm really excited with how it's all coming together.
So you've torn the whole intake off.
The intake, it's 3 pieces, so it's got the pieces on each
Yes,
side.
which head up to the front.
Yep, but we're actually not going to use the manifold at all. So I have it on here more for kind of dimensions.
Yes.
So I measured everything out, sent it to someone who's going to make us a custom billet intake manifold that's going to be quite a bit different shape. So this has really long runners, and they come in really straight. So basically it's really good for airflow when I'm normally aspirated.
Yeah.
But there's nowhere to put injectors properly placed. So we're going to have a new one made, and these are going to be basically turned up. And
You can inject it inside.
yeah, they'll be down here kind of pointing in the correct direction, and then 2 throttle bodies in the front, but a little bit further in because of where the turbo sits, we have a little bit more distance.
It's so clean. I can't wait to hear it.
I know, same here, like
I can tell already what you did here. Equal length.
equal length.
And
Yep.
then 6 to 2, mid pipe.
Yep. Try to get all of the exhausts merged into one so you get that crisp, like high pitched sound.
Yes.
I mean, obviously with the turbos, it's going to change that sound slightly, but I think this is our best bet for getting that V12 kind of scream back in this thing.
And you'll have the scavenging effect because everything is helping each other.
Exactly.
Oh, super stoked. I'm
Yeah.
guessing it's gonna go back through the hood.
Yep, it's going to come up through the hood again.
And then your wastegates will be...
Wastegates we're actually going to mount in the front here. So we've got these really cool cast stainless elbows.
Okay.
And the wastegates are going to come up and be mounted, 2 wastegates mounted in the center, kind of filling these like 2 circles. So I think packaging wise it's going to look really cool. I'm not sure where we're going to dump the tubes yet. I was thinking we get the 2 wastegate tubes and then we have them kind of facing each other, and we do like a single or 2 like twins right next to each other in between the intercooler piping. But just kind of see like as far as clearancing goes how it all fits in there. But it's a lot to package.
It is. And I love how you're doing form and function.
Yeah, so
Like-
it's kind of the combo, right?
It looks beautiful, but it's very functional.
Exactly.
Can't wait. I mean, rear mount radiator, you have a lot of space to play with.
Yep.
Are you
Yeah,
gonna
we got the
do
rear mount with fuel
new
cell.
knuckles?
Completely new suspension. So we're gonna make all the control arm, all the knuckles, put different brakes on it. Yeah, we're gonna change everything.
You're a long ways away.
Yeah, some of the stuff will go pretty quick, but I mean, the exhaust has really taken a long time, but it is kind of one of the most important components in the car as far as how it looks, but also how it sounds. Yeah,
Damon, if you ever sell this car, give me a call.
it's gonna be insane. Truly one of a kind.
Amazing work. I'm really excited to see this run.
Thank you very much.
I think everyone around the world is like, this is gonna sound good.
Yeah, I know. It's the anticipation. And I honestly hope it really sounds good because we put so much work into this thing.
You guys have really been banging it out.
All right, so we've got most of the front crossover tube section built and tacked together, which has been a lot of work because we're trying to make it symmetrical. It needs to land directly in the middle of the car. It needs to be not twisted at all. This way, that, like, it just needs to be spot on perfect so that from every single angle that you look at it, it looks the same. It looks like it's not twisted or tweaked at all. So we've got that all in the car. We added this steel cross tube here just to hold it in place. We actually made this custom jack stand as well to hold that X right in the middle and make sure that we don't have any twist on that. So now that we've got everything dialed in and kind of tacked in place, we can build the rest of the system. So out of the tubes that are open right now, we can put the bellows, which is basically like kind of an accordion looking thing, so that the exhaust has some flex in it. It is a long section of tube and it comes together in an X. If we made that solid, it would want to crack somewhere for sure. So we're putting those exhaust bellows in there, give it a little bit of wiggle room. Got the turbos obviously mounted up where we want them. Now we need to build that top section other bits here that are gonna basically come together. Those will sit like that, and then we need to build the section that goes from here to the bottom of the turbo, to the inlet of the exhaust housing. So now that we have this X placed in the car, it's all dialed in, it's all centered up. Now we can build those top parts and we can finish tacking up some other stuff. But like I said, it is gonna be difficult, and it's also gonna be difficult to weld it because when you weld something, it tends to pull and shift a little bit. So we're gonna have to figure out how to make that stay in place on the fab table, put a bunch of things up, tack some tubes together and kind of build a structure for it, holding it in the exact right spot, and then weld it all together so it doesn't shift and move. So when we do put it back in the car after it's welded, it will still fit. Already looks absolutely insane, but when we finish packaging everything, it is going to be absolutely nuts, and it's going to look as it sounds, which is crazy. And I'm just guessing that it's gonna sound crazy because with all the work that we've done here, it better sound crazy.
Sound as it looks.
Sounds as it looks as it sounds. Mad. When we were mocking all of this up, we used the same stuff just in 2.5 inch. So we were able to click all these together and get an idea of how everything was gonna run. I tried to do it without this stuff, and honestly, it was gonna take so much time, and I think it would be really difficult to get it to be symmetrical. So we started building it with this stuff, and then we actually made this X collector crossover pipe here. So we made that and then sat that in the car with these tubes to kind of get it all dialed in, because obviously this intersects by about 3/4 of an inch on each side. So we weren't able to do that with the plastic blocks. Probably could if we want to sand it down and all that, but we knew we were gonna make this crossover. We knew what size tubing we were gonna use, so we were able to make that, get that placed, and then build the rest around it. We've also got these cast stainless dividers here, wastegate dividers. So as the exhaust comes in, it can keep going through the turbo, but it also wires off to the wastegates. They're just really nice parts that were not expensive. So to do that would have taken a lot of time, but these are also offset. So I think we talked about this before, but instead of going straight in and out, it's kind of like a Y, got a little jog this way and a little bit of a jog this way, so that the wastegates get a lot of exhaust heading to them. That'll help control the boost, so we don't have big boost spikes or more boost than we actually want to run. So that will make sure that the wastegates work properly as they should. So this exhaust system is by far the most complex exhaust that I've ever built, and it is very, very important that we get this system right for a few reasons. The biggest things though are the sound and the looks on this thing. I mean, it is going to look absolutely insane, and we want every single part of this car to be, you know, top notch, the best thing that we can build. Wraps all the way around the V12 engine, holds the twin turbos in place. It's kind of the centerpiece of the whole thing. All right, more stuff has arrived. So now we have some aluminum V-band clamps, and then we've got the aluminum tube for the intercooler tubing. So we can get all this stuff fit up in the car. When the intercooler comes in, hopefully soon, we'll be able to mock that up. It's actually 2 intercoolers for a Skyline Nissan GTR. They're pretty big, they're vertical flow, but we actually have quite a bit more room in the front of the car, so we're gonna use 1.5 of those. They're each rated at about a 1,500 horsepower flywheel, so with 2 of those, we should be over 2,000 horsepower capable at the flywheel, which should be plenty for 1,500 horsepower at the wheels. We'll get those, we'll weld those together, and then design the intercooler end tanks for that. We're still working on the intake manifold design. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's starting to come together. We've got the radiator line here. This is the inlet, so water is going to flow in there. This is the outlet, where water is going to get sucked out by the electric water pump. Those don't go together. So to make that work, we've got some silicone adapters here. We'll put those on here, cut the fitting off of here, and weld on aluminum tubing, modify this, and make this into a short hard line that's gonna slide inside of the silicone hose. And then on the other side of it, we'll do the same thing, and we'll put some aluminum tube, and then at some point, weld on a -20 fitting to where we can screw another fitting on where that hose is for it to run to the front, basically to the engine. So this will get mounted underneath the car, somewhere around here. This will dump out, go to the water pump. The water pump will connect to the bottom, and then we'll get the other -20 line running to the front. So I got this cleaned up, sanded down, all prepped, Scotch-Brighted. So now I can weld the aluminum tube to that fitting. So that's kind of the idea here. This is ready to go. I'm gonna bolt this in the car and then figure out where the line is gonna go, where the pump's gonna sit, make a bracket for the pump, and then I'll finish this line off.
We took the exhaust housing off of the car just to clamp onto this while the flange is being welded, because what will happen is if you put too much heat in the flange, it tends to kind of oval out, and these are indexed, if you see here, as a male side and a female side. So sometimes if you get too much heat into it, it'll end up expanding and then they won't fit flat together. They make like different kind of heat sinks and stuff like that to pull heat out of the flange while you're welding it, but we don't have that, so we just took the exhaust flange off, or the housing actually, clamped that on there to try and pull some of that heat out.
This is a double slip system. So you've got the tube that goes into the collector, and that's already a slip fit. And then you have the other slip that goes around the outside of it to basically create a double seal so that when it does get hot and the tubing expands, it actually gets tight and seals up any gaps, so we won't have any exhaust leaks. So we need to weld all of those on, but after that, we actually need to get some tabs and weld the tabs on from the tube to the collectors and put a bolt through it so it's all clamped together. It'll hold everything in place. It'll keep everything from shifting and kind of rattling around. And then we also need some bigger slips because we're gonna put some slip joints in this tube as well. These are the tubes that come off the collectors here and go into the X pipe. So instead of these being hard mounted, we're going to put some slips in there too, so it just has that little bit of extra wiggle room like we were talking about before, so we don't have any cracks in the exhaust system and it'll last a long time. So.
Yeah.
Pretty excited about those pipes, huh?
That's some pipage right there.
All right, so Damon just got here. He just landed.
I didn't even know
Took
that
an
this
Uber.
car was like, I thought this was somebody else's car.
It looks completely different without the livery.
I walked in and didn't even realize it was the car. And then I realized it was the car. I thought it was Sean's car or something. Sean wishes.
Wishes.
And I was like, oh, is this your car? I bet you would. Too bad, already taken. I'm currently got the loaner car. I know Michael's gonna find a way to try to make me buy it, but I might.
He's already making payments on it. He just doesn't know yet. But all right, so
We'll reskin it to an exotic.
yeah, that'd be easy.
Yeah.
Tim's a body guy.
Well, hold on. We got some spare F12 parts.
We put some more parts on the car. You haven't seen it for like
What'd
a
you
week.
do?
We did a lot.
Come on.
We did a lot.
How much could you do?
A lot of tubage.
You did that. What?
No. Pipe
You
it out.
you're gonna throw those jokes around, Sean? You're laying pipe. Sean was laying pipe all day.
You want to see it?
Sound like Dave. I didn't play video games when I was in high school. I was hanging out with girls. By the way, he says it a lot more raunchier. I'm doing the PV version. PG version. PV version? What's that?
I don't know what that is.
Oh, damn! Holy moly. That's sick.
Looks crazy, right?
That is sick. Bro, man. I never doubted you guys once. Dave, don't fire them. No, this is cool. This is a really big update.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
nuts.
I mean, just, you know, from when it was just the engine in here.
Yeah.
And then building the entire system that wraps all the way around the engine. I mean, we're not even done yet. There's still the wastegate dump tubes.
You're not done yet?
The other tubes.
Yeah.
No, we're not yet.
I thought we were done. I was like fired up.
Take it for
We banged out the BMW and the F12 and got it running while I was gone. Amazing. Yeah, no, you look like you have a lot. But I mean, like, this really looks like it's like, this is really exciting.
Dude, this is really like
this
one of a
big.
kind right here. There is nothing else that I've seen like this at all.
On planet Earth.
Yeah.
Get your heart out, Ferrari. Making your, well, this car has a lot of soul. I was gonna say making your soulless cars have soul again, but this car had soul.
This car was a real deal though.
Yeah.
V12, NA, yeah, no hybrid. Only had one battery in it. Can you imagine that? Only one battery.
Let's take a 296 and tear out everything in that car and put an NA V12 in it.
A Lamborghini NA V12.
Oh, settle down. Settle down.
Going.
Yeah, that would hands down be a cease and desist. I actually really like, obviously, Ferraris. Like their motors are beautiful. This V12 engine, all the V12s they make, the NA V8s, even the twin turbo V8s. I mean, they make an amazing car. It's just we're old. We like the old stuff. We like the NA screaming engines. Yeah, this is like taking it to a whole new level where very little of this car will be that.
All right, I want to show you something else that we got. The new wastegates. Those are sick, huh?
Who makes these?
Turbo Smart.
Damn, these are cool looking.
Yeah. Initial rendering for the intake, the billet intake manifold.
Holy crap.
Yeah, that's gonna look wild.
This is gonna be a real machine, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like a real machine.
Dude, imagine, like,
I hope it starts.
eventually it'll start.
That's crazy.
So many custom parts on this build. So what do you guys think? Personally, I feel like my vision has actually come to life. So everything that I pictured when we saw the engine in the car, where the turbos were gonna sit, how we were gonna build the headers, how we were gonna do that crossover pipe in the front, I think it looks absolutely amazing. But you guys, let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think it's gonna sound as insane as I think it's gonna sound? High pitch, V12, twin turbos, shooting flames. This thing is going to be absolutely
Insane.